cowboy riding a tall roan slowly up the street toward her. When she yelled at him, "You!" his sun-strained eyes looked at her in reserved question from the shadow of his hat. When she motioned, he looked over his shoulder at the fleeing wagon marked by a coil of dust. His dark, sharp, chiseled features behind a shadow of whiskers were deadpan. A drifter, from the looks of him, likely headed for the saloon up in the next block, and the saloon more important to him than any trouble of hers. "For God's sake, help me! Go after them! Stop them!" Meg ran into the street, waving frantically, her sample case abandoned on the dirty plank walk. That is my horse and wagon they're stealing. There's no time to lose." Her anger at the stranger for being so slow wasn't fair, but she couldn't help it. Fortunately, he snugged his dusty hat down tight and growled, "Don't get hit, miss. Stay here, and I'll get 'em back for you." Ignoring his order to stay and not get het, she grabbed her case and followed at a jig-jagging run down the street as the drifter reversed his direction and, elbows high, flew ahead on his horse. Shading her eyes as she ran, she saw him catch up to her wagon, sweep out in front in a dust cloud, and flag the thieves to a halt. He appeared to be having words with them. Determined to add her own say, Meg kept going, panting from exertion and the afternoon heat. Relief flooded her when she saw her rig turning, the rider leading it back at a fair clip. The trio was still aboard and appeared to be, at least temporarily, cowed. She met her wagon in the middle of the street, and for a moment she was unable to speak. Her face was like fire, her small bosom heaved. Her straw-colored shirtwaist was damp with perspiration. Dust coated her lilac skirt. Her self-designed bonnet would have flown away if not held to her choking throat by its ribbons. She fought for breath, yanked the bonnet off, slammed her bag at her feet. Her dark hair tumbled loose from its combs and blew in the wind, revealing the thin scar at her left temple. She glared from eyes so big and light they looked silver. The reedy cowboy sat his roan, knee hooked around the saddle horn, Butterfield's lines in his big brown hand. Butterfield snorted and blew, looked around for some grass to graze on as long as they were stopped, then tried to draw away to the side of the road, but was held fast by the cowboy. The three thieves, faces unreadable, stared down at Meg from her wagon. "They claim," the man grunted, with little interest either way, "that the horse and wagon is theirs." A pure lie! Amazed at their audacity, she pointed toward the sample cases stowed behind the boy, squatting in her wagon. "Tell me what is in those cases, if you can." "Of course you can't." "Well, I can. There's identification in the bags. They belong to me." She hesitated. "Meg Brennan. I can identify every item in every case, parcel and box, because those are all my possessions. And," she panted, "you're not taking them from me." She took a moment to gather her breath and then addressed the cowboy. "Thank you for stopping them. I don't know what I would have done." She smiled, her dove-gray eyes softening with apology for being angry at him earlier. He nodded, looking embarrassed, his chiseled face showing reluctance to be involved at all in this fuss between women and children. She turned her attention from him and examined the others, who had yet to make a move to get down from her wagon. The freckled-faced boy cowered with knees drawn up, his back against her food box. His blue eyes had a blank, fixed stare at nothing. His nondescript clothes were dirty and tattered, and a breeze pulled at the few wheat-colored hairs he possessed. Besides being filthy, his bare feet were scraped, bloody, and bruised. The old woman mumbled a belligerent oath under her breath and reached out to place a dirty, gnarled hand on the girl, who had a haunted, desperate look in her light, pearly blue eyes. "Stay settled now, lass. You don't want to do nothing foolish." The girl's shadowed face, the defeated set of her shoulders, the final straw need Meg felt emanating from the trio, snagged suddenly at her feelings. Her anger at what they'd tried to do to her lessened slightly. She stepped closer, her back to the rider, and asked, "What on earth possessed you to try to steal my wagon? You had no right." There was no response from them, no change to their stony, static silence. She wondered if they weren't afraid of her, now the tables were turned. Afraid of what she could do to them, like turn them over to the law. She could hear the cowboy shifting restlessly in his creaky saddle. "You can go," she said, turning to face him.